What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the reveal of number 17 in my power rankings, a deep dive into the Houston Texans. And I am probably just a smidgen lower than public opinion, probably much lower than most Texans fans are going to have this team. ESPN has them right around here, I think at 17th, and NFL at 12th. You know, this is probably the most polarizing team as we head into next season. We've got some unknowns with Deshaun Watson. This was a star-studded roster that was really hit hard with injuries last year. You've got some pretty gaping holes as well, so more so than really any deep dive, going through this roster position by position, talking about its strengths and weaknesses is going to be more important maybe than any other deep dives. So let's get right into that, and then afterwards we will look at the schedule and my expectations in terms of win total for this team. So let's talk about Deshaun Watson. So I do rank them, the Texans, tied with three other teams for 16th in terms of quarterback play. This is projecting, this is kind of hard to explain, in my eyes, some development for Deshaun Watson. Now, some people think he's going to come out and just repeat what he did for those 7 weeks, which would basically make him the best quarterback of all time by a landslide. Look, I get it. He was exciting, was making all kinds of plays, but we simply need to see more. I feel like I don't need to explain that, but I know there's going to be people that believe he's this elite pocket passer, and, you know, as a thrower of the football, I get that the mobility is exciting, that he's this top 10 quarterback already as far as his ability to command the field, make every throw on the field, and use every kind of route concept, read defenses, manipulate the pocket, and become a pocket thrower. These are all the things that we just need to see more of Deshaun Watson before we crown him as one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So just pump the brakes a little bit. I do have him ranked 16th. Now, obviously, if he comes out and repeats what he did, you know, the Texans are going to shatter this 17th ranking. Are you kidding me? But I am expecting him to have some quote-unquote lumps here in his sophomore season, especially when you look at this offensive line. So again, ranking 16th, a very polarizing thing here for Deshaun Watson, because there are worlds where he exceeds that 16th ranking, and there are worlds where he's actually much worse than that, and really only time will tell there. Then you look at these running backs. I'm much lower on Lamar Miller. You know, he's fine. That's literally all I can say about him. He's fast in a straight line. He's not a great between the tackles runner. He is not as good at making people miss as he frankly should be as an elusive running back. And even as a receiver, he's just okay. So, you know, he's fine. He's the starter here. I think he's actually a value in fantasy football because he's started to sort of lose some allure and excitement. A lot of people, a lot of Texans fans specifically, are waiting on a breakout from D'Onta Foreman. When I see him play, I think of Chris Ivory. So take that as you will. You know, a good straight line runner, very powerful dude. Chris Ivory's had some good years in this league. I think very similarly about D'Onta Foreman. That was always my comparison for him coming out. And then you got Helford Blue still here. Totally average backup. Troymaine Pope, Tyler Ervin. Just overall not a great group of running backs. I don't think this team's going to be able to run the ball very well at all, which is going to put a lot of pressure on Deshaun Watson. Luckily, he does have a really freaking good group of receivers here. DeAndre Hopkins, you could certainly make the argument, was actually the best receiver in the NFL last year. In my eyes, the gap between him and Julio Jones has closed very much so. He is absolutely, though, in that top 5 tier of absolute elite receivers. I think very highly of him. And then you've got Will Fuller. I feel like we're still kind of understanding what his ceiling's going to be. We know he's very good with the ball in his hands, very fast, can be a very good deep threat. But I know there are people, especially in this organization, that think he could be more than that and have a very much more diversified route tree with a healthy Deshaun Watson this year. So we'll see if he can, you know, become more than a Deshaun Jackson. But even if he's not, that's a very good number 2 there. And then you got a drop off. You got Kiki Kuti is coming in to probably be the starting slot receivers here. You do have Braxton Miller and Bruce Ellington. All these guys will be competing for the slot. Ellington, you know, could have been worse last year in the slot. They bring in Sammy Coates. Does he even make this team? You got Chris Thompson. So some pretty poor depth, in my opinion, after Fuller. And then you look at these tight ends. You got Steven Anderson. He's a good receiving tight end. Could continue to grow this year. And then they take Jordan Akins and Jordan Thomas in the draft at tight end. Not really big on either of those guys. I really was not a fan of this tight end class as a whole. You got Ryan Griffin there still blocking. So outside of Hopkins and Fuller, I'm really not too excited about anyone. You know, some people might expect me to say Kuti could be this explosive slot receiver. And he's like Kendall Wright, Big 12 receiver, get the ball in his hands, he can do some nice things, but I don't see him ever having a diversified route tree or really having any plus traits as a receiver outside of being a ball carrier. So overall, the receivers rank 6th in the league, so very good group of receivers, but this offensive line, man, you can sense this sort of droning tone in my voice, and it is because of this offensive line. Any pessimism that I have about Deshaun Watson having a hard time developing, or this being a good running game, or these receivers really exploding this year, it all comes back to this line. Pro Football Focus's worst ranked offensive line in the league, and they did very little to improve it. You're going to have probably Julian Davenport at left tackle, 4th round pick last year, very much in development, could get really ugly there at left tackle. They did sign Zach Fulton, who's going to be the best lineman in this group. He could either be a center or a guard. No one really knows who's going to be the center here between him and Nick Martin, who I still think has a good future here, just needs a little help around him. So that's definitely the best two there. You got Senio Calamente at right guard and Ciantrell Henderson at right tackle. Are you kidding me? You got Kyle Fuller and Martinez Rankin as well as the depth. Like, the depth is just awful. You don't even have good guys in here competing. This is going to be the worst line in football, and I don't even think it's going to be close. So a ton of pressure is going to fall on Deshaun Watson, and that's a lot of pressure to put on that man. So we'll see. You know, like I said, I'm a little lower on this team. Offensively, I have them ranking 23rd, so it's not like I think they're going to be this horrific offense or anything. They're going to have some really nice days. But on the days against teams that they can't block, this could get really ugly. We've seen the same thing with like Seattle, where they'll come out and get almost blanked against good rushes and good run defenses because they just can't block anyone. So maybe they take a giant jump forward, but it's really hard to predict that. Offensive line play is just so important. So I'll try and get a little more optimistic here now as we transition to the defensive side of the ball here. So really, this defense after JJ Watt and Merciless got hurt was not a good defense. So obviously getting those two back, 2 star edge defenders, JJ Watt playing inside as well, that's an instant spark plug to this defense. But the one thing I will say is JJ Watt has to be healthy. You know, I don't think just getting Whitney Merciless back and adding Tyrann Mathieu takes this team from what it was last year as a pretty poor defense to a playoff caliber defense. So obviously a huge pendulum swing with JJ Watt. When he's on the field, just makes everyone around him exponentially better. So if he's healthy, we're seriously talking about 1st or 2nd best defense in the league. So they do come in actually 6th in the league for me defensively. So I am projecting JJ Watt to play, and I'm mostly projecting him to be himself. Pretty hard to sit here and say he's going to be same old JJ Watt, the best defender in the league. Certainly could be, and if he is, look out. But let's break this whole thing down. In the front 7, we go by run defense, pass rush, and linebackers. So let's start with the pass rushers. We've already kind of started to talk about that. Now I hit on JJ Watt and what he means here. And then you bring Whitney Merciless back, who's no joke. He's probably one of the best 15 to 20 edge rushers in this league. And then you look at what you're able to do with him, JJ Watt, and then the breakout of Jadeveon Clowney last year as one of the premier defenders in this league. They've never really had these guys all healthy playing together. Now, I do think Clowney having to step up last year without them was key to his development. So now it'll be interesting to see him take this new superstar skill set, Clowney, and pair it with some other stars. So I have this ranked as the 2nd best edge rush, or just pass rush in general. JJ Watt's himself, this is number 1. Again, we'll see what happens there. Without JJ Watt, like if he played 0 games, this is probably, you know, somewhere around the 8th to 12th best pass rush. So kind of hard to sit here and really dissect how good this pass rush will be. Behind those 3, this team did take Duke Ejiofor, who I was super high on. I at one point had a 1st round grade on him, ended up with an early 2nd round grade. Really refined pass rusher, was an injured guy coming off of 2017 in college, so he didn't get a lot of workout grades. Definitely fell in the draft for injury concerns, but reminds me a ton of Carl Lawson, who you guys know really stood out for Cincinnati last year. So, you know, it's going to be hard for him to get on the field amidst this pass rush, but when he's out there, I think he could be an instant impact rookie edge rusher. So this continues to just get better here off the edge. And then you go inside. DJ Reader had a very good season last year. on the inside. This team has always been pretty weak on the inside without J.J. Watt. I don't think Vince Wilfork ever really made a huge impact for this team. And then look out for Carlos Watkins as well. So a pair of Clemson defensive tackles making up what should be a very good group of interior guys, assuming they can all stay healthy. So in terms of run defense, they come in tied with 2 other teams for 8th. And then you look at these linebackers, and you got 3 guys here who are all very versatile. Well, actually, the combination of them gives this team versatility, I should say, because you've got Dylan Cole here, who emerged strangely as one of the best cover linebackers in the entire league. And then you got Benardrick McKinney, who's kind of on the other end as this dominant run defender. Not terrible in pass defense either. And then Zach Cunningham, who is a perfectly well-balanced rookie from last year, a player that really is poised to emerge as one of the 10 or so best linebackers in this league. So it's a pretty incredible group of linebackers. You probably don't have any superstars right now in this group, which is what leaves them tied with another team for 7th. Zach Cunningham, though, certainly could make that jump. So then you transition to the secondary here, and this team had problems in the secondary last year, particularly out of the safety position. And right away, Andre Hall, Hodgkin's lymphoma, get well, man. So he's probably out for the year here. You do have Justin Reed, 3rd-round pick that I really, really liked, but there are concerns that he's not going to play much as a rookie. We'll see. I look at the depth here at safety, and it's going to be pretty hard for them to keep him off the field. They did just announce that they will be moving Kareem Jackson to safety. So it's probably either going to be Reed or Jackson. Then they got Tyrann Mathieu is going to play sort of that strong safety, nickel safety role here. You got Ibrahim Campbell, Corey Moore, and Curtis Drummond. So definitely an upgrade bringing in Tyrann Mathieu. But as far as the center fielder role goes, really that last line of defense, it is a concern here. And even if it is Justin Reed, who I like, Justin Reed was really best in college as a slot corner and a strong safety. I was very high on Reed. I had a 1st-round grade on him, so I think he could be a successful free safety, though it's not necessarily his skill set. And then the corners, pretty concerning. With Kareem Jackson moving, it's going to be Jonathan Joseph coming back for another year here, and Kevin Johnson, who had his struggles certainly last year. And then it's probably going to be Aaron Colvin in the nickel. They got Jonathan Badamosi here, Treston DeCowd, take Jermaine Kelly in the 7th round. Really not a good group of corners here. Maybe Kevin Johnson can pick things back up after really dropping off last year. But as good as this front 7 is, that secondary is very important in the modern NFL. So, they are definitely the reason this defense is dragged down to 6th. They are probably going to be a reason that in certain matchups against really good passing teams, this team could struggle. But when healthy, this is the best front 7 in football. I don't even think it's close. And when you're causing so much havoc up front, it really does help elevate the play of the guys in the secondary. So overall, again, 23rd on offense, 6th on defense. For coach and culture, I think they're fine. They come in at 20th. This isn't exactly a team that rallied and started to show some good team camaraderie as soon as some of these star players went down. This team really fell apart last year. Bill O'Brien's still somewhat of an unproven coach, so it's not like I think it's a bad culture here. Just some things to be desired, I suppose. So then you move on and take a look at this schedule, and it's a pretty easy schedule, as you would expect for a team that won, 2 games last year, and then they come in and play in the AFC. It is a tough start at New England, at Tennessee, so I've got them starting 0-2, but then the rest of the schedule, pretty easy. A lot of easy home games. I've actually got this team going 7-1 at home. And you got 2 really critical games there in the middle, at Denver and at Washington. Now, I've got this team losing those games and going 9-7. Definitely 2 winnable games for this team. If they can step up and get those, this team could be looking at a 10-11 win season. Again, this is projecting Deshaun Watson to be a very good quarterback, as I rank him 16th. But again, this is really going to come down to 2 big things, Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt. At this team's ceiling, they are one of the 2, 3, 4 best teams in the entire league, really. But if things don't go right, just like last year, this 9-win projection could actually be way overly optimistic. So they're right in the thick of things here for the playoffs in the AFC. I've got them ranked as the 2nd best team in this division. So they're right in contention there. it's a good AFC South, so it's going to be really interesting to see play out. Looking forward to hear from you Texans fans and what your expectations are. I'm sure you're probably going to knock me for not coming out and saying Deshaun Watson is going to be this elite quarterback. Maybe he proves me wrong. Maybe he makes me look good. You know, whatever happens, I'm probably going to look wrong in the end because he's probably either going to exceed that 16th ranking or be way lower. So we'll see how it all plays out. If you enjoyed the video, guys, do like it. Hit that little thumbs up button. Cheers as always. We'll see you next time.